get started. This is probably the first video of this kind that I've done. Now, I've done a bunch of videos, but I wanted to take this video opportunity to really just share my story. I haven't done that. Talked a little bit about some of the things that I went through. Of course, I mentioned some in my very first book and how I was able to navigate some of those challenges, but I haven't really spoken about my story in a very long time, so I wanted to take a few minutes to do so. So, here's my story. Beautiful story. Eventful, painful at times, but beautiful. I am here to remind you of your greatness. Now, I know that sounds pretty cliche, but I have to do that for myself on a regular, and that goes into my story. I've had to remind myself of my greatness, even in some of my worst times and circumstances. I had to go really deep. So some of you guys know my story. In the last 8 or 9 years, my life has been eventful. It has changed. There has been a lot of losses, from parents to jobs, businesses, marriages, children, freedom, material things, friends, if I didn't say that already, family members, lots and lots of losses. What I found that because of those losses, I have been forced to gain aspects of myself that I did not even realize, did not even know existed, obviously, because I didn't have to draw on them. So, within those 8 or 9 years, I've had to deal with bouts of depression, extenuating sadness, emotional overload. I've had to learn how to integrate myself emotionally. I've had to learn how to be still. I've had to learn how to surrender and give up a lot of some of my old strong suits and ways of being that have allowed me to be successful in other areas. But because I've experienced a lot of loss, a lot of painful events at one time, I did not have the capabilities to handle it all at one time. Now, I had the capacity, but I wasn't capable at the time, so I had to learn as I went. And so my story is this, for men in particular, but everybody in general. You are your own solution. You've seen me hashtag that for years, and I really know that. I don't believe it, I know it. You are your own solutions. How did I get out of some of the darkest moments? I fought like heck, but I fought in a different way. I didn't fight outside. Matter of fact, some of those losses were as a result of me fighting externally. But when I was forced to go within, it became a whole different world for me. So I'm here to tell you that no matter what you've gone through, going through, or have gone through, the battle is internally. Now, a lot of those things, most of those things, the majority of those things were my fault, and others were because of me. And so there's a difference between something being your fault and something being because of you. Needless to say, they all require your personal responsibility. For me, I was able to go within and just spend a lot of time just giving up. And I don't mean giving up like not working. I mean giving up spiritually, mentally, and emotionally in terms of surrendering. And so I spent a lot of months, years, digging, waiting, resting, sleeping, reading, praying, meditating, spending time outdoors, changed eating, changed my lifestyle, gave up some relationships, studied, went to therapy, became a therapist. I really should say counselor, because one of my approaches to therapy is to teach others how to therapize themselves. And I know some of you thinking that's not a real word, but it really is necessary. So I refer to myself as a teacher who happens to counsel. And my number one lesson is to teach you how to therapize yourself, meaning how to provide a personalized self-care program that is designed by you, created by you, executed by you, and sustained by you. Now, I live this now. I've learned how to do it professionally, but more importantly, I've learned how to do it personally. And so, as many of you know, my formal background is teaching. I consider myself a teacher. And I'm here to teach you about you. I'm here to teach you about you, is better said. As a result of some strategies, using your real life examples. And I use two approaches. This is part of my story, but I use two approaches as my personal curriculum for living. One is more of an emotional integration approach. The other one is, let me say that, three, now that I think about it. The other one is more of a cognitive behavior approach, meaning monitoring how I may misuse certain cognitive approaches, how I distort some of my thinking, which causes me to ultimately feel some interesting ways. But the other part is a metaphysical approach. There's a spiritual approach that I use that really has served me well. And so this is a synthesis of some of the ways that I've used, that I continue to use, to overcome depression, to sustain myself physically. But the number one determining factor for me regaining the success on a whole different level is focusing on my health and wellness, is giving up everything that I thought I was even doing in moderation. Eating, drinking, socializing, gave it all up. Not that anything was wrong with it, but I figured if I was going to be going through something, I wanted to feel my way through it. I wanted to really, really, really be present so that I could really gauge for myself what was happening to me. And I didn't want to increase this whole idea of checking out, using voids and external things to temporarily soothe me. And we all do. And I'm not suggesting that it doesn't have its place, because soothing is part of the self-care regimen. But I'm talking about eliminating certain things physically that allow me to become well. And so that's what I offer you. When the story becomes a story that stops feeling good to you as you tell it, the very first thing is to pick another version, to stop telling that. Not to minimize the existence of it, but to change yourself vibrationally. The other part is you got to find somebody to talk to, someone who's qualified, someone who's not only had the credentials, but had the experience, the wisdom, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, the know-how to help you on your journey. That's important, but we all need that. Just like we need our doctors and attorneys and trainers and pediatricians for our children, and dentists and orthos and perios and house cleaners. We need our squad. Get you a wellness accountability partner ASAP. That's a huge part of my success. I serve in that capacity for others. I'm honored to do so. I serve in that capacity for myself, and I also see a therapist. This whole notion, I know the big thing about coaching. Coaching is cool, which I'll touch bases with you guys later. I've developed this Coachable program, which is part coaching, part therapy. Coaching has its place. We all need that, particularly focusing on goals and objectives and becoming better at them. Support. But we also need to go back and find out why we do the things that we do and how we can monitor them. There's nothing to fix because we're not broken, but there are some things to tweak. Let my story serve as an example. Let my success, my re-success, let my growth and maturity assist you as you, even if you're not going through something, as you sustain wellness, as you regain wellness, as you go get your wellness. Emotional intelligence, that's what it's all about. Personal development. I'm here to teach you how to therapize yourself. More about my story coming up. Love, light, peace, power. I usually say love, light, peace, power. And so a friend of mine did the L2P2, and it just kind of came to my mind. Anyway, I stand by that. It's not just a cliche or hashtag. You are love. You are light. You are peace. You are power. Unless you do something or allow something to get in the way of that. Later, y'all.